Hi guys, it's Sparkly Squirrel here, and today we're going to be playing the Ultimate Decades Challenge by Morbid Gamer. The basis of this challenge is to go all the way from the 1300s to 2020, and we're following historic events that have happened in the world during that time. So you've got things like the famine, plague, etc, etc. It's a very hands-on challenge. There's a lot of things that you need to track. So what I've actually got here is a spreadsheet from Morbid Gamer, and basically this is your lifeline. Like, you need to track everything. Every 4 sim days equals a year in the challenge. So if I go to my family tree, you can see I've got this started a wee bit. Now, my main family, you have a main family and a side family. Our main family is going to be Richard Burrows and Isabella Burrows. Now, I have a backstory for them as well, that I'll get into in a little bit. Now, you can see the other 2 names here is Arnold Foreman and Catherine Foreman. They're going to be our side household. We're not going to play them too much. They're just backup, just in case everyone in our main household dies off for some reason or another. Now, the one thing that I haven't set up yet is rolling to see how many pregnancies or how many times that Arnold and Catherine are allowed to try for a baby. It doesn't necessarily mean that every single time they try for a baby they're going to be pregnant and they're going to have a child that ages successfully, because there is death rolls in this, so there is going to be a lot of death. That's quite interesting. So for Arnold and Catherine Foreman, if I go into the managing babies, they are already married to each other, okay? So we're gonna roll to see how many tries they get to have a family, okay? So I've got my roll here, and I will roll, and they get 3 attempts. Now, the mortality rate is actually quite high in the 1300s, especially for young kids, like babies and infants and stuff. So the fact that they only have 3 tries is going to be a bit difficult for them, to say the least. Now, one thing I do want to show you is this is our Sims info, where we're going to track everything of when they were born, when they die, what they die of, which is our cause of death over here. Now, I'm not going to be playing much with nationalities, just because I don't know enough about it to effectively do it. So I am just basing everything off of England. We are in 1300s in England. With our farming key, we have all the seasons, and we have different crops that we can grow each season. You can also roll for how the soil is and like how the crops are going to turn out. But I'm not really going to do that to start off with, because it is going to get pretty hard if they have really poor soil. Like, they're not going to be able to make enough money to actually live on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forget about that for now. I might bring it back later on in the challenge as we get like kind of closer to the famine and stuff. Right, so jumping into our game, as you can see, we have both our main family founders here. So this is Isabella Burrows and this is Richard Burrows. Wait, you can't really see him. He's gonna tuck himself away. Now, I do ignore this person. I don't really know why she's here and why she's dressed like that, because I did actually delete everyone who wasn't, like, I've repopulated the town with like medieval houses and families, which will hopefully deal with as we go through the challenge. Now, this is our house for the challenge. Now we have this kind of rundown farm that we need to fix up, and we're basically just going to be living off of the land. Obviously inside is quite sparse. There's not a lot that we have going on. Got your basics, got a kitchen. They do have an outhouse over here with their toilet and everything. We also we're gonna get like cows and, well, probably just one cow, but we're gonna get cow, some chickens. We've got bees going. We're possibly gonna get some mini sheep or mini goats. I'm not entirely sure of what I want to get yet. If I just go into the family tree here, you can see that Richard and Isabella have just got married, and my boyfriend will give you the backstory of how we got to this point.
Richard Burrows was the second son of a farmer in the village of Northmere. His elder brother inherited their father's strip of land, leaving Richard little but his strength and a wooden plough. For years he worked in other men's fields, dreaming of one day having soil of his own to till. Isabella, the daughter of a poor shepherd, married Richard in her teens. Together they scraped by, doing seasonal labour for the manor and surviving on oatcakes, broth and hope. But Northmere was struck by 3 years of failed harvest, followed by an outbreak of fever. Hunger grew sharp and the manor's steward pressed hard for rent. When Richard's younger sister died in the winter famine, he and Isabella made a desperate choice. They would leave Northmere behind and try their fortune elsewhere, though it was dangerous and often forbidden for peasants to move without leave. Carrying little more than a yoke, a sickle, and Isabella's iron cooking pot, they set out with the spring thaw. They followed through tough roads and forest tracks. They reached Ashcombe, a small town clinging to the edge of the fens. Here, land lay neglected, a half-abandoned farm on the outskirts, its thatch carven in and its fields overgrown. The previous tenants had perished in the famine, and no one had yet claimed the holding. The bailiff of Ashcombe, eager to see the land worked again, allowed Richard to take up tenancy in return for yearly labour services and a portion of whatever harvest he could wrest from the soil. The deal was harsh, but for Richard and Isabella it was a chance, better than starving in Northmere. Now they live in a crumbling hut with soil that yields more stones than grain. Richard struggles with the heavy plough, while Isabella tends with a meagre garden. The townsfolk eye them as strangers, slow to trust, but some admire their willingness to take on land and others had abandoned as cursed. Every day is a battle, to mend the leaking roof, to gather firewood, and the forest without angering the Lord's foresters, to keep the rats from their grain store. Yet Richard and Isabella cling to each other, finding strength in their bond. They hope that with time and God's mercy, they can turn this broken farm into a place where children might grow strong, and their hunger is no longer their only companion. And now, back to the video.
So Isabella and Richard have just arrived. They've just spoke to the bailiff, and he has agreed to give them this land if they work at it and sell their produce to the town. So I think with that, I have already played one day just during the setup off camera, so we are starting on the Monday rather than the Sunday. So I think it's just time to jump straight into the gameplay. Right, so I've just set the money to 0 and we're just going to start by jumping straight in. So obviously we don't have any crops, we do have the bees, we don't have any of the goats or anything like that. We do plan to get goats, obviously, because I want Isabella to really be taking care of the animals while he kind of deals with the more labour work. While Richard deals with like the garden and like I'm probably gonna get him into woodworking. So what I'm actually gonna do is He's really sad right now because he's just lost his dad and he lost his sibling, his little sister, during winter. So I am gonna go and get him to go have a little cry in bed, because everyone loves a little cry in bed when they're sad. And I'm gonna send her straight out, and I'm gonna send her to go and start foraging, because we're gonna need crops for the garden. We desperately need stuff for food. So we're just gonna go with that. Okay. Now this house was actually off the gallery, and I will link that below. We'll come and get you to go hunting. We'll just fast forward through this a little bit just to get us going. So obviously we want to get pregnant pretty quickly with all this, because obviously we need to start having kids like pretty early, because as we get older, our chances for conceiving are a lot lower. Right, let's see. Isabella, what did you actually pick up? Ginger root, apples, lightning root leaf, chocoberry, green pea, and some eggs. Well, I'm going to send you back out because you didn't actually get anything that we could have, that we can actually plant. Let's just fast forward through this and we'll see what Richard has managed to get. So he got a small rabbit and a squirrel. So let's just pop it in the fridge. And what we'll do is we'll also get him to just go out foraging as well, because we do really need some stuff. And then I think when they both come back, we'll try for a baby and try and get them pregnant. Now, I'm going to be taking pregnancy tests on this, but I know that it's not really historically accurate, because they wouldn't have pregnancy tests like we have nowadays. I do think that they had some sort of like kind of old wives' tale of like peeing on wheat and seeing if it does anything. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I may not even be talking truthfully. It's just something I saw while watching a series. Right, so we'll get you to come in, use the toilet, have a bath. Because you stink. Let's see, did we get anything? We got some lemons. I know we can plant some lemons. I don't really know if we can plant much else. Let's see if we can plant anything else. So we are in spring. So we can plant carrots, mushrooms, parsley, bluebells, daisies, roses, tulips, birds of paradise, orchids, fang flowers, green peas, taro root, and valerian root. So we can't do lemons. Okay. Interesting. You'll probably learn that my memory is awful, so yes, I have just read out that entire list, but I am not going to be able to remember it, so I'm going to have to keep checking back on the farming key. So can't do apples. Can we do sage? Nope. Lemons? No. Green peas? We can do green peas. So we'll plant some of these green peas. We'll get them going. Chocoberry isn't in it, so I'm gonna say no. We'll just pop this stuff in the... fridge. Put seeds on, and then I think we'll just sell that stuff. Because I don't really know exactly what that's all about. Right, so he is back as well, so what did he get? Chestnuts, carrots, we can do carrots. Let's plant up some carrots. Dandelions, we can't do them. Acorns and chocoberry again. Right, okay. So, not much we can do, really. It's just animal cell gun. Now, in terms of like making money, I'm kind of gonna flip between selling it directly in their inventory or selling it to the trader if the trader's working in the royalty mod. I'm not entirely sure if it's working. Or I'll use a sales table. But like just as of now, I'm just gonna sell it in their inventory because they really don't have a lot. And we'll just say that they took it to the farmer's market or something and they sold it there. I think I can actually get them to go down a rabbit hole of going to the village. No. I thought I could just get... Well, you can go to the shop. I forgot what these were. Look a little bit. Why is he throwing up? Sonic's sinuses ailment. Okay. I've got to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen that. Has that got something to do with the Enchanted by Nature pack? He's grieving as well, obviously, he's just lost. He's just lost 2 family members. Sorry if you hear rummaging in the background, my cat has just decided that it wants to climb over everything. So we'll get him to plant these up, give them a water. Oh wait, can we get them to water them together? That's quite cute. Let's get them to water them together. I love it when my Sims do things together. No, she's just having a bath. She's gonna be so grumpy when she comes out of the bath because for some reason this bathtub, every time they come out the bath, they end up really, really uncomfortable from sitting in a really low quality bathtub, which I find absolutely hilarious because it's like they're complaining about being submerged in water, but that is the whole point of a bath. Let's see, does she have that? No, she doesn't. She's just loving life right now. So we're gonna send them both to bed. Oh wait, actually, should we get them to try for a baby? Yeah, let's get them to try for a baby first. Oh. Ah, right, okay. I forgot to turn try for a baby on for teens, so give me a second, I'm gonna go and fix that. And we're back. So I'm not exactly sure where I left off. I forgot to press record again. So I haven't done really much. I've just been sending them out foraging, hunting. Currently Richard is having a bath. He's still very, very uncomfortable. And I'm going to need to see if I can try and fix that because that is making him very uncomfortable and it means that he can't go out hunting. And we need food and money. So we'll let him have his bath. and then we'll probably get them settled down for the night, and then I think we might leave this episode off with that. We'll just send him to bed. I guess I'll clean up after him. Get his ability to eat this, and then we'll head to bed, and then we'll start back the next episode. And hopefully we shall be having the baby next episode, so it should be a wee bit more interesting, more to do, and try and get her florist career of sort started. So that is it for this episode. Please tune back for episode 2, and I'll see you next time. Bye.